Welcome to the Metal Matt Podcast. And I just want to say to all of you that these are the years when a person changes into the person that they're going to be for the rest of their lives. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, with great power comes great responsibility. That's right, we are going to be talking about the original Spider-Man series today. And it is going to be tons of fun. But it's time first for Shoot the Shuffle. But before we do that, I just want to give a few other shout-outs first. I want to give a quick shout-out to, of course, Chucky's Playground, the best site in the world, just a great place to be. If you haven't signed up, definitely sign up. It's going to be the best decision you've ever made in your life. It's just great people there. We talk about all types of things, so definitely join us because it's really a lot of fun. And I'll give another quick shout out to Spanky and G's podcast, Movie Mayhem. The two just have great charisma, and it's definitely a great podcast, really, really entertaining. So definitely check them out because they're really great. And so now it is time to shoot the shuffle. Number 1. The glorious revelation of the People's Technocratic Republic of Finland by the Combined Forces by Typo Negative from October Rust. This is more of a segue than an actual song, but it's still pretty cool to listen to. Number 2, Sacrifice by Motorhead from Sacrifice. A really good, heavy song by Motorhead. Number 3, Burn by The Cure from the Crow soundtrack. Really cool song. And the Crow soundtrack is very good, so definitely give that a listen. Number 4, Buddy Holly by Weezer from Weezer, the Blue album. Just really, really good 90s alternative rock song. Number 5, This Means War by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts from Good Music. Good Music is a highly underrated album. Definitely check it out. Probably one of Joan's best. And it's just great, great stuff. Number 6, Natural High by the Union Underground from An Education of Rebellion. This album was the only album this band did, but it's really, really great. Number 7, Fly Like an Eagle by Steve Miller Band from Fly Like an Eagle. Really good song from the 70s and just really great. Number 8, Let It Go by Def Leppard from High and Dry. This was before Frozen, by the way. It's not the same song. But, this is a pretty good song from Def Leppard's sophomore album. Number 9, Jesse's Girl by Rick Springfield from Working Class Dog. A very, very good power pop song. And finally, number 10, Charisma by Kiss from Dynasty. An okay song from Kiss's last album of the 70s. And so Shoot the Shuffle is over, and now it is time to talk about Spider-Man. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one, because, and these films were directed by Sam Raimi, and he's probably best known for doing the Evil Dead series. And there's definitely kind of you can tell that it has kind of a horror aspect to it, kind of that visual style that Sam Raimi has, and they're really well directed. And this film was really made me become a fan of Spider-Man, because I don't think I had ever heard of Spider-Man until the film had come out, and I think this might have been the first film I saw in theaters. I'm really not sure. My mom tells me that the first film I saw in theaters was like Elmo and Grouchland. I do not remember seeing that at all in theaters. Then again, I was like 4 when that came out, so I would have no memory of that at all. So if anything, Spider-Man is really the first film that I remember seeing in theaters. And it was a lot cooler than freaking Elmo and Grouchland, I'll tell you that much. But after I saw the film, I was like, okay, I am a Spider-Man fan, and And that's how I got to know the animated series, because, I just wanted to know everything Spider-Man. So I decided to rent a few Spider-Man DVDs. And this was the animated series from the 1990s, which is probably the best animated series that Spider-Man has ever had. Because Spider-Man had tons and tons of animated series. Too much to even count, but the 90s series that aired on Fox is probably my favorite series in terms of animated. But yeah, anyway, this was the first film that I remember seeing in theaters, and it was really cool to see. And the story revolves around Peter Parker, who is kind of this nerd. And he goes on a field trip to a laboratory, and he gets bitten by a radioactive spider. And I need to mention something very quickly. It's Peter Parker / Spider-Man is played by Tobey Maguire. And he was perfect for the role. He's great as Spider-Man. And it's just really, really good. Very likable, very believable, just all around great. But anyway, he goes home, and he's rendered unconscious while he's at home. And when he wakes up, he becomes stronger. His vision is improved. He can now shoot webs from his hands. Can swing them. Can swing around town on them. He can crawl on walls. He can do all that spider stuff. Meanwhile, Norman Osborn, who's played by Willem Dafoe, he's trying to perfect some type of performance enhancer. In order to make sure that Oscorp doesn't die. And it's kind of complicated in some ways. They have some type of big military contract that they have to get. And I never really understood that aspect of it. But anyway, he decides to test it on himself because they're running out of time. They have only 2 weeks. And so he decides to test it on himself, and as you can probably guess, the experiment goes awry, and his personality splits in two. He goes insane, and he becomes the Green Goblin. And it just kind of comes to a head, really, these two. And Peter's love interest in this one is Mary Jane, played by Kristen Dunst, I'm not sure which one, but yeah. Okay, yeah, it's Kirsten Dunst. Anyway, she's his love interest, basically, but he's dating Harry Osborn, who in this film is played by James Franco. And it's kind of odd to see him in a film like this, because he wasn't the big star that he is now. But, yeah, so... And Spider-Man, he's kind of just... He just kind of appears out of nowhere. Well, first of all, his Uncle Ben gets killed by a thief, and it's at that point where he decides to be Spider-Man full time. And now he's stopping crime, and Peter gets a job at the Daily Bugle as a freelance photographer, since he's the only one who can actually get good pictures of Spider-Man. And Jonah Jameson is played by J.K. Simmons, and he plays him perfectly. And it all comes to a head, really, where Oscorp has a meeting where Norman Osborn is pretty much thrown out of his own company. And it has the best case of overacting ever in a superhero film, I think. At least in this film, anyway. Because Willem Dafoe, he is kind of pretty hammy in this movie. He is really over the top in this one. Maybe more than he should be, but... yeah, he's like, "You can't do this to me. I started this company. You know how much I sacrificed?" He yells that. And I think he shows more emotion than I just did. But, yeah, it really is just kind of over the top like that, But anyway, that's just a scene I wanted to mention, because I wanted to yell that line too. But, anyway, It all comes to a head at some type of festival, I think. It's never really made clear as to what it's like some type of Oscorp festival or something like that. I always thought it was like the Macy's Day Parade, I think. But that's probably just because Macy Gray is there, so that's why I think of it as Macy's Day Parade. But anyway, the Green Goblin appears for the very first time really. Like, he appears bombing like some type of military base, but we never really get a good look at him. But this is the part where we get a really good look at him. And Spider-Man's outfit it's basically what you would expect it to be. It's just kind of like normal cloth, very, very normal, exactly what you would expect. Green Goblin's outfit, on the other hand, it really does seem like, I really don't know how to explain it. It's like, it's all plastic, and it's like, the face is basically a true mask, really. Now, I'm really not sure how to explain it, but it's something about it just looks so off. It's very uncanny valley kind of stuff, So anyway, they end up fighting. Like, the Goblin bombs a building, then kills all the Oscorp higher-ups, and he blows up a building, which is, and just like this ledge kind of thing. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's some type of ledge or something. I'm really not sure what it's called, but it's about to collapse. And Goblin and Spider-Man are battling, and it's really cool. It's really action-packed. And Spider-Man is able to save Mary Jane. And they fight once again. Well, hold on. I kind of skipped ahead of there for a second, but they fight once again in the Daily Bugle. Actually, Goblin gasses him. Not what you would expect. I know exactly what somebody's going to say. But he temporarily paralyzes Spider-Man. And they're up on a rooftop, and the Goblin is just trying to get Spider-Man to join him. And this is coming off of a situation where Norman Osborn is basically talking to himself in the mirror, basically. And it's very Jekyll and Hyde-esque, because he and the Green Goblin are separate entities, which I really like. I really like how they did that. And so Green Goblin is just talking to Spider-Man about joining him. And it's kind of funny in some ways, because, Green Goblin, it's like Spider-Man, it's like, why should I join you? You're a murderer. And Green Goblin, he just goes over to Spider-Man, slaps his head, and just leans back on like a platform. It's like they're talking at like a water cooler at work. Like, it's really silly. But it's just so cool. Anyway, then they fight in a burning building, and Spider-Man refuses to join Goblin. Goblin releases all these, like, Goblin blades, I think they're called. I'm just going to call them that. And one of them cuts Spider-Man on his arm. Spider-Man's able to escape. And I guess this takes place right before Thanksgiving dinner at Harry and Peter's place. And Peter arrives, and Aunt May discovers a cut on his arm, which is from the Goblin. And this is when Norman realizes that Peter is Spider-Man. And Goblin kidnaps Mary Jane, and like they kind of fight on a bridge. They kind of fight on a bridge, but Goblin is holding like a bus of kids, and Mary Jane in his other hand. Spider-Man is able to save both of them, and Goblin just takes him and whams him into this abandoned building. And for the longest time, I never realized exactly where they were fighting. Like, I've been watching this movie for like 12, 13 years, and it never was clear to me exactly where they were fighting. And I only realized just a couple of days ago that was in the abandoned building. But anyway, Goblin, he gets the upper hand. And then Spider-Man and Goblin throws a bomb in Spider-Man's face. It blows up in Spider-Man's face. It tears half his mask off. And just, in the newer films, Spider-Man just seems to fight without his mask for no reason. But this one, he actually has a legitimate excuse. Half his face was nearly torn off because of that bomb. So he does have a legitimate excuse. And even then, he has half a mask. So, anyway. Peter is able to get the upper hand on him. He's beating up Green Goblin. And Green Goblin unmasks, and it's Norman. And Green Goblin almost impales him with his glider. And ends up impaling Norman instead. And at the funeral, Harry says that he wants Spider-Man dead because he blames him for killing his father. And Weird Al did a great, going a bit off topic for a second, but Weird Al did a great parody of Billy Joel's Piano Man, featuring, I realized exactly what I wanted to say. And Uncle Ben earlier on says, with great power comes great responsibility. And in Weird Al's Billy Joel parody, Piano Man, called Ode to a Superhero, Weird Al says something like, with great power comes great responsibility. That's the catchphrase of old Uncle Ben. If you missed it, don't worry, they'll say the line again and again and again. And it's true, they really do say it like 60,000 times over the course of the series. But yeah. Anyway. And Mary Jane goes up to Peter. She wants to be with him, but he turns her down because he's Spider-Man and he doesn't want her to be in any danger. So overall, Spider-Man is a great, great film. And at this point in time, comic book movies weren't exactly all the rage like they are now. Like nowadays, we have like 5 superhero movies like a year, but at this time we didn't really have any because Batman and Robin kind of killed it. But around this time, Spider-Man came out, and that's kind of what resurrected the genre, especially with Marvel. So yeah. Danny Elfman's score is absolutely brilliant. It's very good. Very fitting for a superhero. Absolutely awesome. And I'll go ahead and talk about the video game for this, because it's really, really cool. And the game kind of deviates from the movie a little bit, but for the most part, it stays in the linear storyline. And I think both Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe do their own voices for the game, which is really cool. I don't think they do that for the newer video games. I don't think the people that are in the movies actually do them for the game anymore. Which I think is a shame because it adds more authenticity to the game when the movie stars do their own voices. But anyway, the game is pretty cool. There are some problems with it, but for the most part, it's really exciting. The only parts I don't like are when you have to be stealthy. And that's the parts I hate most in video games, where you have to be stealthy. Because I always lose on those. Like, you have to sneak into Oscorp for one mission, and you just fail every time. And the final scene is on the bridge. You battle Goblin on the bridge instead of an abandoned building, which is a shame, but I mean, it's still pretty cool. I'll go ahead and talk about the soundtrack as well, because I actually own the soundtrack to this as well. I'm holding the CD in my hands as I speak, and it's really, really cool. They include the original 60s anime theme, like for no reason. I guess I really don't know why they included it. But the second track is Hero by Chad Kroeger of Nickelback, featuring Josie Scott, formerly of Saliva. And I know a lot of people like to crap on Nickelback nowadays, but this is a pretty cool song. And Sum 41's What We're All About, that's an alright song. I'm not a huge fan of those guys, but it does feature a solo by Kerry King from Slayer, so that's pretty cool. And Black Labs Learn to Crawl is pretty cool as well. Default's Bond is pretty cool. The Hives Hate to Say I Told You So is pretty cool as well. Jerry Cantrell, She Was My Girl, that's a great song from there. Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains. This was when he went solo after Elaine Staley died. And they also have a couple of score pieces. Like they have Danny Elfman's main titles and farewell songs from it, and it's really cool. And it ends the album with Aerosmith's theme from Spider-Man. Aerosmith did the theme for Spider-Man for this one, and it's really, really cool. Aerosmith, as you all know, is one of my favorite bands of all time, so it was really cool to hear them do the Spider-Man theme. So overall, Spider-Man 2002 is a great, great film. Probably my favorite comic book movie of all time. It's just really, really good. And so now we move on to Spider-Man 2 from 2004. And Spider-Man 2 is a great film also. Like, technically speaking, it's better than the first one, and it's probably the best one of the series. Personally, I like the first one just a little bit better, but that's just personal preference for me. Because technically Spider-Man 2 outdoes Spider-Man 1 in terms of visual effects, story, stuff like that. But personally, Spider-Man 1 will always be my favorite Spider-Man, but that's just me. So Spider-Man 2, it starts out, and Peter Parker is trying to balance his life as both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He's kind of failing, like he gets fired from like a job. He doesn't have time for his studies, college studies, and it's kind of interfering, So, it kind of comes to a head when Harry Osborn is now the head of Oscorp, I think. Otto Octavius, played by Alfred Molina, is doing some type of fusion power experiment. I never got the science of this movie down, but yeah, it has something to do with like fusion power. And he has like these tentacle like objects as like extra arms, and he has like this fusion thing connected to the back of his neck, which will allow him to control the arms instead of the other way around. Due to a power surge, the power kind of goes out, and the experiment goes awry, and the tentacles end up being stuck to him permanently. And while in the hospital, and this is when it gets all Evil Dead on us, and it's Raimi truly being Raimi with this scene, and it's kind of like found footage in a way, actually. The arms wake up and they murder all the doctors, one of whom is John Landis in a cameo. And all of them murder, and sometimes it's done in found footage. I guess there's like cameras inside the tentacles. I guess I really don't know, but yeah, some of it's found footage, some of it's like just normal footage. And it truly is like a scene out of Evil Dead, Definitely very horror inspired, and it's really good. And at first, when it came time for Doc Ock to be the villain in this movie, I wasn't really too sure about it. Like, Dr. Octopus? Really? But over time, he really impressed me, and I really liked the villain. Like, he was really cool with it. He has a very sardonic sense of humor that kind of sets him off from other Spider-Man villains. And Peter, for some reason, he loses his powers all of a sudden. It's never really explained exactly why, but yeah. And hold on, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, and he loses his powers, and I think this is like very similar to a comic story from Spider-Man, where Spider-Man gives up being Spider-Man, and Garbage Man picks up and brings it to Jonah Jameson. And this is one of my favorite jokes in the movie. And Jameson's like, I don't remember the exact line on it, but I think Jameson says something like, "I'll give you $50 for it." And Garbage Man is like, "I can get more for this on eBay." Like, I don't know why, but that just made me laugh. But and Jameson throughout the series hates Spider-Man. He has a personal vendetta against Spider-Man. It's never really explained exactly why. But I think I do have a theory about this. And They explained it in a. They explained it in the animated series. I'm not sure if this happened in the comics or not, but I'll go ahead and just say it because this is my theory. It's a theory that was explained in the animated series. I think it's why Jameson hates Spider-Man so much. Apparently, there was a mass criminal, who murdered Jameson's wife. And that's why Jameson hates Spider-Man so much. It's not necessary because he just hates him because he wears a mask. And he pretty much hates anybody that wears a mask. And I think that's why he hates Spider-Man so much. I mean, I don't know. That was what I saw in the animated series. I'm not sure if that's true to the character, if that was like something they explained in the comics, or if they just made it up for the animated series. I really don't know. But I just thought that would be interesting to talk about. But anyway, he has Spider-Man's outfit in his office. And Spider-Man decides to come back. He steals his outfit back. And he's like, Jameson. The funny thing is that he's actually kind of warming up to Spider-Man a little bit. Like, Spider-Man, we miss you. And his outfit is showing a thief, a criminal. I want Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's back, and this leads to a train battle between Doc Ock and Spider-Man, and it is amazing. It is undoubtedly the best scene in the movie, and probably the best fight in the entire series, actually, now that I think about it. Just really, really good, very action-packed, kind of suspenseful in some ways. Spider-Man has to stop the train because the controls were destroyed, and so he has to stop the train, and he somehow does, but he's exhausted about it. He nearly passes out, and throughout all of this, he loses his mask, which he doesn't mean to. Unlike another Spider-Man that I know of, he is actually concerned with the fact that his mask is off. But anyway, and Harry. He orders Dr. Octopus to bring Spider-Man back to him. And Harry unmasks Spider-Man, and he's shocked to reveal that's Peter. And Spider-Man and Doc Ock battle once again for the final time in like this pier lab where Dr. Octopus is. And he's doing his fusion power experiment yet again, and this time it could pretty much destroy all of Manhattan. And eventually, Spider-Man defeats Doc Ock, and Doc Ock decides to sacrifice himself for the greater good of the city. And he takes it and he drowns along with the experiment. And this is when Mary Jane finds out that he's Spider-Man. And they decide to get together. And while this is happening, Harry Osborn has a vision of Norman Osborn come back, and Norman wants Harry to revenge him. Harry throws his drink through the mirror, and it's basically the same scene as Spider-Man, where Norman Osborn is talking to himself in the mirror. He throws it through a mirror, and it's revealed that all the Green Goblin paraphernalia and all of his stuff is there, and it's kind of implied that he's going to be the new Green Goblin. So overall, Spider-Man 2, great movie. One of the best sequels ever made, honestly. And I'll go ahead and talk about the game, because the game really does deserve mention. And it's a great game. I think it's better than the first game. It basically takes place in an open world mission. It's almost like Grand Theft Auto, in a sense. Very open world. You can pretty much do side missions. You can just walk around the city, and it's really, really good. And I think it has the Black Cat in it, which is really cool as well. So overall, the game's really, really awesome. And overall, Spider-Man 2 is a great sequel, just as good as the first film, if not better. And so now we move on to the final Spider-Man series of the Sam Raimi series, and this is Spider-Man 3. And Spider-Man 3 is okay. I think it's a step down from the first two. I mean, I think it's still pretty cool, but for the most part, it's not as good as the first two, I think, but it still has enough entertaining things in it for it to be worthwhile. In this film, Spider-Man battles the Green Goblin 2, the New Goblin, who's Harry Osborn, the Sandman, and Venom. And I think that was too many villains for Spider-Man to face. 2 would have been enough, but then 3, wow. But yeah. And Sandman, his performance is okay. He's not the best Spider-Man villain, but he's still pretty cool. And when he's first formed, the CGI is really, really cool. And Venom really does seem like he was an afterthought. They don't focus on him quite as much as they do with Sandman and New Goblin. Anyway, Peter and Mary Jane are in a relationship. Spider-Man is kind of like the big hero of the city. Sandman comes in, and it's revealed that he's the one that killed Uncle Ben. And A. Brock also is in there as well, and he's obviously Venom. And he's played by Topher Grace, who I thought that was a really odd casting choice. He wasn't the first guy I would pick as Venom. I mean, I think he did fine. He did better than I thought he would. Venom kind of looked really scrawny in this one. He didn't look as big as he should have been. But overall, I thought he was fine. This is also the one with the black suit Spider-Man. A symbiote, or however you say that, arrives from outer space and it crawls on Spider-Man's suit and becomes black. And Peter's personality kind of becomes more cynical and kind of more evil as time goes on. And he finds that sound weakens the symbiote, or however you say it. And A. Brock gets fired from the Daily Bugle because Peter outs him for a fake photo. And Eddie Brock is praying in a church for God to kill Spider-Man. Or actually, he wants God to kill Peter Parker, not Spider-Man. And that's actually when he realizes that Peter is Spider-Man. And the transformation from Eddie Brock into Venom is really, really cool. And it all comes to the head at the very end of the film. And the final battle between really all 4 of them is really great. And this was when New Goblin teams up with Spider-Man, because throughout the film he does battle Spider-Man a couple times, and he New Goblin kind of wants to kill Peter, but at the same time, both of them are friends, so it's kind of difficult. Harry finally finds out the truth about Norman, and the New Goblin and Spider-Man team up to take on Sandman and Venom, and it's really cool. This is where Sandman becomes really big. This is where they get really good with the CGI. Sandman is just this massive Sandman, made out of sand. It's really cool. I'm trying to think what else happens in there. New Goblin gets killed, Harry gets killed, and Sandman apologizes to Peter for murdering Uncle Ben. Peter forgives him. And Venom is killed by one of New Goblin's pumpkin bombs. And so, Peter and Mary Jane's relationship is stronger than ever, really. So overall, Spider-Man 3 is an okay film. It's kind of a step down from the original 2, but for the most part, it's really, really good. It's pretty good. Pretty entertaining, at least. And the game is also okay at best. I don't remember too much from it. But I remember enough. I remember battling Sandman, and that was really cool. Other than that, I don't remember much from it. So yeah, overall, Spider-Man 3 is an okay film, but it's still really entertaining. So that's all for Spider-Man. This is a really fun podcast to do. So that's it for this podcast. Hope you enjoyed. This was very fun to do. And when I return on Wednesday, I will be coming back and I will be counting down my top 10 favorite albums of all time. So that's definitely going to be interesting. And I'll see you.